Hey guys, and welcome to today's video. So today's video is going to be kind of different. And if you guys don't know, if you're new here, because maybe you wanted an update, this is a fragrance beauty channel. Don't worry, I'm not going to get too much into fragrance, but I know my last shorts video not only brought in my kind of viewers, you know, the perfume lovers, but it also brought people that just wanted to know updates on Hurricane Ian. So I am going to be putting up like clips because we documented it all. Now, before I get into the video, I just want to say me and Dennis are very grateful that we weren't hit the way other people were hit. There are people who lost everything during this hurricane and hurricanes before. This video is in no way looking for any kind of sympathy or handout. It's just letting you guys know our experience. Where I live, we're just not in a flood zone. So what we experienced was something that they said is historical. It's never happened. Some people had flooding all the way up to their windows, their roofs. So we are grateful that we only got 2 inches, up to 2 inches of water in our house. I just kind of wanted to put that out there, but let's go ahead and get into the video. Okay, so I'm gonna be looking at my phone because again, I did document everything and this happened so fast. It was pretty surreal because again, we've just never experienced flooding to this magnitude. We've had like flooded areas, but nothing like this. So Hurricane Ian was supposed to kind of hit us with its hurricane winds at like 2 in the morning. And it was just me and Dennis. This was the first year that we didn't have family staying here. Usually we do have quite a bit of family that gets evacuated because they're in more dangerous zones. So we've had 12 people. I think one time we even had like 15, maybe even closer to 20. Hurricane Matthew, I think we had 12 adults, 3 children, 3 dogs, and 2 cats. I mean, we've had family members that have come here during the hurricane. This was the first year that 2 of my cousins, they didn't want to burden us with their pets. They wanted to go to a hotel where they can take their dogs because we have 2 dogs that are now sick, and before our dogs weren't sick. So they didn't want to overwhelm our dog. So really the only other people that were going to stay here was another cousin of mine. But one of my cousins, Jessie, was the only one that was thinking of coming here, and at the last minute her husband, he wanted to stay home. I mean, everything happens for a reason. I do believe that happened for a reason because I cannot imagine us trying to get other people out of here. We couldn't stay in this house. We didn't know if the water was going to keep rising. The dogs, they just couldn't relax. They were nervous. They couldn't lay down. So we did end up leaving even though we weren't supposed to. So I'm going to go over that. Basically, the night before, probably around midnight, I had gotten up because I was going to go to the room. I went to bed fine. We set up a group text at our job and people were checking in and people were like, oh, it was a rough night. I slept like a baby. But at about 5:50, 5:45, I got up so I could walk the dogs and do their meds. Now I could hear the rain and I can hear the wind, so I got on my rain boots, I got on my raincoat, I strapped the dogs up. I remember like undoing my alarm and Oliver running ahead of me and then looking back because Lucky's terrified of the rain and he just like froze. He didn't want to go. And I remember looking back, and just as I was looking back, I heard a splash. And when I looked over, I could see Oliver like frozen. And then I saw my mat that we have to kind of kick off your shoes when you come in was floating in front of me. So I don't know, it felt like I was dreaming. So like I yanked Oliver back inside and I started screaming, Dennis, our yard is flooded. And he's like, you know, getting up all groggy. And he's like, what? I'm like, the water is almost up to our door. So he got up. He threw on like a towel because it was raining outside and I had on his raincoat actually. After he got dressed, got his sneakers on, he went into the garage to grab a flashlight, and that's when we found out that water started coming into our garage. So it wasn't in the house yet, but it was in our garage. And then he went outside, he threw on a towel, and when he walked out, he turned around like just in shock that the water was up to his shins. It's not almost up to your knees.
Huh?
It's not almost up to your knees.
Yeah. Look what he said. It's halfway up my leg. It's up to my knees.
I wonder what that noise is.
It's the water.
No, there's like a buzzing, like a siren.
Yeah, I think the size of the water.
We came in and we went to the back, and that's when we saw the creek was basically overflowing into our yard. At this point, it's about 7:45. The water wasn't in yet. Our whole house is tile, thank God. I've never liked carpet. Just having dogs and everything, tile has always been easy. Plus, we live in Florida, it's cooler. But we do have some really nice pieces of like carpet in our living area. We have a nice formal dining and living room space that flows into another kind of more family kitchen and family room area. So before the water got in, he's like, should we roll up the rugs and move the couches off the wall? So we did move everything and start moving all our furniture. Then I started to pile all our new chairs, all our dining room chairs. So that was around 8 o'clock. And then at 9:21 was our first sign of water. It started coming in from the back. It started coming in from our screen door. So we started pulling, anything we could find, like big blankets, anything to kind of just block it. And then Dennis went to the front of the house and noticed that it started coming in from the front door and the garage. And in less than 30 minutes, it finally started coming in through the closet. And then we started noticing it coming in through the rooms. And then we knew that it was coming in from all around us. And by 10:30, the perimeter of our home had about 1 inch of water. By 11, we've got pretty much a nice layer of rainwater in our home. And by, I would say, noon, our house was flooded. I would say 2 inches was more in the back part of our house where the canal was, and then it kind of went down to 1 inch of rain. And the dogs were not happy. They didn't know what was going on. They kept pacing. They couldn't find any place to lay down or relax. So then I started texting my friend Melissa that morning. She lives, so we have the canal. My friend lives on the other side of the canal / lake, because it's kind of weird. Her side is a little bit more elevated. So while their homes didn't get flooded, almost all the cars that were in the street and not up on the driveway or in the garages were gone. So it was about 3 o'clock when she sent me a photo, because from her house she could see the first entrance to our neighborhood. We have 3 entrances. She sent me a picture of emergency. They were going around checking if anyone needed to be rescued from their homes, because we were trapped in our houses. And it looked like they started at that entrance and were going down and around, because they actually didn't get to us till the next day. But we didn't know that. We were waiting because the news said that we shouldn't leave our house because people were getting stranded in their cars. Now Dennis has a big V8 truck and he's like, I think I can make it. I kind of wish we went for it earlier, because the more and more we waited, the higher and higher the water got. So we were just waiting and the dogs were pacing. Finally, Oliver found a spot under our coffee table, and Lucky he couldn't take it anymore. And I found him laying on his soaking wet bed because they were tired, they were exhausted. And I'm like, we can't stay here. So I did book a room just because I knew whether they came or got us or Dennis just got us out of here. I knew we could not stay in the house because I didn't know if the water was going to I didn't know what was going to happen. This was the first time we ever experienced this. So we had packed the bag and everything ready to go. Finally at 5, Dennis was like, okay, we can't keep waiting. I don't hear them anymore. I don't hear the boats anymore. And my friend said that the emergency, they were gone. I'm a rule follower, but Dennis knows his way around cars. He knows if a car is going to stall out. So I trusted him. I knew that if he was going to try and get us out, he was going to try and get us out of harm and not put us more in harm. And he was pretty confident that we were going to make it out. Now, we didn't know how bad it was further down, but he felt like the truck would make it. So I did packed up the dogs. We weren't going to wait anymore. We knew that as soon as we got out of our neighborhood, that road was clear. Like, we knew that already, so we left. didn't realize that the entrance, because the entrance is where the kind of canal and the lake meet, it was even more flooded. So it was actually the first time that I saw doubt in Dennis's face. I mean, he's not really one to show a lot of doubt, but there was just a point where he's like, I don't know if this truck is gonna make it. So I stopped filming at that point just because it was depressing. I mean, we were gonna be stuck in a car and we didn't know what we were gonna do. It's still the middle of the day. Are we gonna have to call 911? But he managed to make it out. Got to the street where we could either turn right or left. He went ahead and turned right because he felt like the water was gonna get a little bit better. And as we were heading out of the neighborhood, I mean, it was like night and day. Water and then dry land. Not dry, but it wasn't flooded. And as we got out, you could see his truck smoking. You don't care. We pulled over at the gas station. He checked out his car. We were good to go. We made it out. And we already knew that from where we were at all the way to the hotel was a straight shot. So we got to the hotel, checked in, got food. We were exhausted. And when I was packing, I knew I wanted to pack a couple of fragrances. I didn't know if I was going to be gone for a day or two, like we were going to play it day by day. So I wanted something familiar. I didn't want to create a set memory. So I don't know why I grabbed my Ralph Lauren Romance. Now this perfume is new, but it does smell a lot like the original Romance. A just more updated version. I wanted something clean, musky, fresh, something familiar. So I grabbed this because this is actually when I started dating Dennis, I would wear the original back in 2001, 2002. So I grabbed this, got to the hotel, got the dog settled. I took a shower. This was my scent of the day for Hurricane Ian. And then the next day, our neighbor said that the water's gone down. So we were ready to go back and assess the damage. Now Dennis did notice already the water being kind of like light. It wasn't as deep. He was able to get back. And then we did see, this time it was a big military truck. It looks like they did half of the neighborhood the day before and then the other half the following day. So I'm really happy we left and got the dogs and everyone to just decompress and kind of relax before the next day. Luckily, when we got back, the water inside of the house did go down and it just became kind of just a wet, like the whole house was like a puddly, wet mess. The next day, still a little bit of water in some areas. It wasn't like a layer of water, like an inch or two of water. It was just like a puddly, wet mess throughout the whole house. So my dad and Dennis just patiently and calmly went from room to room, sucking up all the water. They brought in fans, and then me and my sister were behind them disinfecting and mopping. Got rid of mattresses, some of the cheaper rugs that we had. There are some furniture that we had to get rid of. Luckily, some of our, more expensive pieces, they held up really well to the rain and didn't really get damaged. But all in all, we're grateful. The water didn't seem to get any higher. It seemed to go down afterwards. So we just kind of cleaned everything up and spent the whole day cleaning so that we could stay in the home. That's what I wanted. I told Dennis I do not want to go anywhere else. So we had to throw away the dog beds, but the dogs were happy to be back home. So then Friday night, I needed something comforting. I felt tired, exhausted, and for the first time, the weather had dropped. We had a cold front that came behind the hurricane, and where we were experiencing like 90-degree weather, it had dropped down in the 60s, which isn't cold, but when you've been in 90-degree weather, 60 is quite a difference. So it dropped to 60, so I was like, ooh, I'm gonna pull out something cozy. So the first night back, I popped on Angel's Share and Kayali's Juicy Apple. You guys, you gotta try this combo. I will say that eventually this does eat up Kayali, so I had to top this one up, but I would just say spray this light and then overspray this one. But this is the combo that I wore our first night back, and it was gorgeous. One thing I will say about me and Dennis, we work really well during hard times. Like, me and Dennis have been through a lot together, and while this sucked, it also kind of brought us together. Like, we've found moments to laugh and joke about, you know, which, I mean, you can't feel sorry for yourself. I mean, I know for a moment there Dennis was upset. I've never seen him really upset. Like, he's like, I can't believe this. We can never get ahead. Every time I think we're finally ahead, something sets us back. So I know he was upset. But then afterwards, he's like, you know, it wasn't as bad as we thought. And I know a lot of people lost more. It's just when we're finally, you know, seeing something, you know, come together in our life, we always have a setback. So it was a little hard to see the house flood after we just remodeled it, but it could have been worse, and we know that. So very appreciative, thankful that we didn't lose too much. So, you know, we did lose a few, like, again, a couple rugs, a mattress, the guest bedroom, pretty much everything in there, the dog beds, but everything can be replaced. Things can be replaced. So I know this video is a little weird, but I kind of wanted to just chit chat with you, give you guys an update. A lot of people reached out to me. I want to say thank you to everyone who reached out to me in the comments, who sent me like messages, text messages, who DM'd me. Anyone who reached out, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Dennis appreciates it. That's my quick update on how we're doing. We're still cleaning up. It's a lot because the water touched everything. So we have been moving literally everything off the wall, cleaning, disinfecting, and then we really can't put everything back because someone's got to come in and make sure that there's no mildew or mold setting in. So it's gonna be a little chaotic for a little while. And then again, there's just things like in my beauty room. My beauty room got like 2 inches of rain. So that room alone, eventually I'll have to replace some of the items. I can't do it all at once because it's not cheap, but eventually I will have to replace my IKEA kind of closet that I have. Not all of it, just the frame, because it is warped and like it didn't hold up well like other things held up. So that I will be replacing. But thank you again everyone who's reached out. That will do it for today's video, and I will catch you guys in my next video. Bye guys.